Tonight, one more Burkinabe gunman arrested in the Upper West Regional border town as national security launches counter-terrorism operation at the northern border. So here from the military high command.
National security has thought it necessary for us to shift a bit northward to be able to secure our borders, to make it a bit more firmer. We have had to launch Operation Conquered Face, a counter-terrorism measure, just to make sure that, one, we are able to deny suspected terrorists freedom of action.
We'll bring you details as the police, military and immigration services increase their numbers at the country's porous borders.
This is Top Story with Evans Mensah.
And Top Story is always brought to you by Bond Savings and Loans. Your success, our passion, also brought to you by GASM, the nation builder. Vodafone, the future is exciting. Ready, a nationwide health insurance, your healthcare family. In the last few hours, we're getting reports that one more Burkinabe gunman has been arrested in the Upper West Regional border town, as the national security is today launching a counter-terrorism operation at the northern borders. We understand that the military has launched a series of the operations there in its attempt to deny suspected terrorists access through the country's entry points. Now, that's according to the general officer commanding the Northern Command, Brigadier General Francis Ofori. Now, the terrorism threat alert on Ghana has been on the radar in recent times, following the arrest of a Burkinabe national in a Catholic church in Hamile in the Upper West region. Now, a second gunman has been apprehended now by the security agencies, and he is expected to stand trial in Ghana, in Accra. We understand he's been flown to Accra for that purpose. See, military high command has been touring parts of the Upper West region on the heels of these threats. Brigadier Ofori tells Joy News they have increased their presence at the country's porous borders in a bid to flash out suspected terrorists who might be using these entry points.
If you look at the trend of the activity, it's getting closer to our northern border, and therefore we have had to also stand up and be counted and to up our game. Just to narrate a few of them. In March, you heard of the kidnapping of a Reverend Father in northern Burkina Faso. In April, there was the attack on Assemblies of God Church, with some casualties, including the head pastor in the northeastern part of Burkina Faso. And then in May, you heard of the Catholic Church that was also attacked. That was in the central part of Burkina Faso. Again, in the same May too, I believe you are aware of a French-led rescue mission that attempted to, and they did, rescue some 2 French nationals who had been kidnapped. So putting all of these things together with national security and the government has thought it necessary for us to shift a bit northwards to be able to secure our borders, to make it a bit more firmer. We have had to launch Operation Conquered Face. It is essentially a counter-terrorism measure, and just to make sure that, one, we are able to deny suspected terrorists freedom of action. And then if we locate them, to be able to flush them out. So we have had to shift closer to the border, to a few places, and I'm unable to disclose exactly where we are. But as a RESTEC chairman, you need to know that we are present there, and you would have seen military vehicles and personnel in numbers that you are not used to seeing before. Before then, we have had to also launch from national security level counter-terrorism sensitization seminar. We did it in Wa, we did it in Bolga, we did it in Tamale, to sensitize stakeholders, and by that I mean RESEC, metropolitan municipal and district assemblies, traditional authorities, hospitality industry, and then the churches. Thankfully, I was in Bolga, and I stopped by one of the churches, Fountain Gate, and I had an interaction with the estate manager, and he was at the seminar, and that gladdened my heart. Because if they've used the church as soft targets, it's also as well that they also participate. And so we have had to pass by here to let you know that we are around. So if you see the troops in their numbers, and of course, we are doing all of this in collaboration with our other security agencies, police, immigration. Let me add that I think that we are beginning to realize the positive feedback from the sensitization drive, because you heard of the arrest of that Burkinabe with a pistol in Catholic Church in Hamile. I am sure the sensitization and awareness creation is going down well.
And you just heard the Brigadier General talk about the arrest of that Burkinabe with a pistol in his pocket. We'll learn shortly the circumstances of the latest arrest as well the tip-off that led to the arrest of this latest Burkinabe, who had also now been picked up. 2 suspects now in custody, all suspected to be people who were operating within our borders with the intention of causing harm through, of course, terrorist acts. We'll get some more detail on this. But we're also learning a bit more about the focus that is now being placed on hotel operators and landlords in that part of the country. And the Brigadier General has also been talking about how these operators and landlords can contribute and be on a high alert and not just focus on making money, but also helping the security agencies identify threats as soon as it comes to their attention through individuals who may be lodging in these facilities but may have a motive to inflict fear and panic on members of that society. Listen to it.
We should be mindful of these things. Also, we have people who have houses or rooms that they rent out, tenants. You also be careful. Don't be focused or fixated too much about the money that is coming to your pocket to the detriment of the community. We're not saying don't rent, but at least you must do a little background check on that individual before you rent out the accommodation. I hope it is clear. It is important. I hope that everybody understands, so that when we feel somebody is able to, you are doing that, you're going to do that. So it's important whether hoteliers or caterers or tenants who are renting out, or our mothers who go to the riverside or to fetch firewood, when they see these strangers, feel free to talk to us. Remember, we are your compatriots who are in uniform. When I retire tomorrow, I'm going to be wearing this thing that this gentleman is wearing. I'm just privileged to be wearing this. When the time comes for me to retire, I'll put this uniform down and go back to this one. So see us as your compatriots who are in uniform. Feel free to volunteer the information. Security is a shared responsibility. Do you understand? You do your bit, I do my bit. Because as it is, these soldiers and the policemen, they cannot be everywhere. So if you see something which is strange, doesn't click, doesn't sound well, it's important you come back and feel free to come and share that information with them. And trust us, there'll be no harassment. Trust us, when you bring such information, there'll be no harassment.
Well, already on the ground, we are hearing reports that, as the Brigadier General has announced already, there is increased military presence along these northern border towns. The residents are seeing this for themselves. Armored vehicles, armed military men patrolling these border towns already. But how is this being received by the people? Well, we've been speaking to Sisala East MCE Karimu Nanyo.
Though the arrival has increased the number of people in the municipality, we've not actually received any bad report about them. But as human as we are, at least we should be expecting. Once they are not the national of Ghana and they happen to be found in our municipality, we begin to raise a lot of concerns. So I think a report is made through media, and then also official communication is extended to your outfit. I'm grateful for your quick response. Your boys were sent here. They are with me for almost 1 week. For your information, I'm grateful for the good work they are doing, and I encourage them to continue. People in Sisala East Municipality need peace, especially at this hour of the day and then at this period of the season. We are, about 90% of people here are farmers, and we started getting our rains at the later part of May. So what I mean is that they're ready to go to their farms. And as you know, farming as an economic activity, if there's no peace, it will be very difficult for people to do it as an economic activity. So I'm grateful for the intervention of your people and other security personnel.
And I want to take you now live to one of those border towns. My correspondent, colleague of mine, Rafiq Salam, has been digging this and working this angle for us today. Rafiq joins us on the telephone line. Rafiq, where exactly are you tonight?
I am exactly at Ghana's border with Burkina Faso, to be precise, Hambele. I'm currently at the Ghana side of Hambele. Just some few meters, I'm talking about 20 meters, you are entering Burkina Faso, Hambele.
Now, before we talk about what you see on the ground in terms of the promises made about increased security military presence there, tell us more about this latest arrest that we are hearing has been made in connection with the fears of terrorism there.
His name is Tangang Duno. He's a national of Burkina Faso. He was arrested, I'm told, by the police yesterday upon a tip-off. And according to that guy, Tangan, he came to Hambele to do to buy alcohol, and that's what he is selling. But he also told me that he is a farmer, and then he was arrested yesterday with a local manufactured pistol with ammunition.
He's Burkinabe, we understand?
He's a Burkinabe.
Do we know if there's any connection between this latest individual and the gentleman arrested earlier who was in charge with the pistol?
The police said that they are still investigating, but for now, there's no connection regarding the first incident, because they are saying that he was arrested because he's a Burkinabe. He entered the country unlawfully, and then somehow he was arrested with a local manufactured pistol with several rounds of ammunition.
But he's not being kept in the West Region EC.
Currently, he is police custody, and I'm told that they will be moved to Accra Fort 5.
Now, where you are now at the border with Burkina Faso, what do you see? Is there the Brigadier General has promised there's going to be increased presence of military, immigration, etc. Is this visible on the ground there?
It's visible. I can tell you there are dozens of security personnel from the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Immigration Service, and also military personnel right at the border. And so I can tell you that there is influx of security personnel right at the border. But for now, we are heading to the Catholic Church where that incident took place last Sunday.
And you mean the Brigadier General and his entourage are heading to this Catholic Church?
Yeah, to the Catholic Church.
Can you explain why this has become necessary days after the arrest was made?
According to Brigadier General Francis Oforu, he said that he wants to visit the Catholic Church. He will meet with the Reverend brother who was preaching when the incident happened, and he wants to meet the man who was extolled, whose virtues was extolled by President Akufo-Addo for being alert, for being vigilant, and in the arrest of that suspect. So he wants to meet them, and then he wants to speak to them.
I'm just curious. I mean, I just had the DC there talk about the presence of the military, the armed military officers, as you just described, they flooded the town. How are people reacting to all this?
The people are taking from the view of the community from Tumu. They are really excited about what they saw. Some few minutes ago, we were at Tumu, and then he spoke to them. He made a cross section of the youth and also some religious leaders in Tumu, and he spoke to them, and they were really happy to say about what is really going on. And so the presence of security personnel in Tumu, and other areas like Bano, Wiru, and other areas, they are really happy with what they are seeing, because remember, some few weeks ago, we have this Burkinabe who came in, who came into the country, over 400 in all, came to the Sister East, and they are saying that they want to farm there. And so it was really a security concern for them. But for now that they have military presence and other security agencies there, they are really happy with the situation.
I just heard the commander also touch on the fact that apart from the show of force on the ground, there's also an attempt to educate some of these soft targets, i.e. churches, marketplaces, etc. What more can you tell us about this initiative as well?
Can I get it again?
I just heard, based on the sounds you sent earlier, I heard the commander say that apart from the show of force that we are seeing on the ground, they also attempted to engage these so-called soft targets, churches and the marketplaces, to educate them on how to spot a potential threat, for example. How is that going, and what more can you tell us about that initiative?
Yeah, he spoke about hotels, and then also about houses that are being rented. He says that they shouldn't fixate their eyes on the money that they will collect, but also look at the security. They should check on the background of these people that they are taken into their homes or into their hotels. And so he says that personal security is a shared responsibility, and that's exactly what he expects the people to do.
Rafik, thank you very much. And he's been following this story for us from that part of the countries that Burkinabe border there with Ghana, following the commander around. We'll get the latest for you as when we get it. Let's bring in security analyst Adam Bona, who's the chief executive of the Security Warehouse Limited, who's been listening in on this following the developments in that part of the country. Mr. Bona, thank you for your time here on Newsnight, and you've called for this to happen. There appears to be a lot of boots on the ground now been targeting our borders, how porous they are, but also making sure that there's presence on the ground. Your reaction to the initiatives that we're hearing and the announcement formally of a counter-terrorism operation that is now in full force?
Well, I'm happy. Yeah, thank you for having me, Evans. I'm happy, and I can only hope that we are able to sustain this for a very long time. And where Rafiq Salam, your colleague, is reporting from, I was there in December. I'm sure that Catholic Church, I was also there in December. And so I know the terrain very, very, very well. And so hearing that the place is flooded with security officers, military officers, customs, and call them immigration and all forms of security officers, I'm happy because the place is so porous. You won't actually even realize that you are in Burkina. You would enter before you realize you are in Burkina. And you would enter into Ghana before you realize you are in Ghana. And so I am happy. But one other thing, I would urge those in charge of the operations, what I would urge them to do is to make a declaration. Every foreigner who is around that territory would have to come forward for that person's details to be captured. They would have to know each and every foreigner who is on that soil, around that territory, the Tumu area, the Hamile area. Each of them must be captured properly in a way and manner. They have to know where they are staying. Do they have any economic occupation? How are they employed? Why did they come into the country? All this information we would have to get from these people who have crossed into our territory. Without that, if the number of, call them security officers, with time begin, if they de-escalate the situation, if they bring it down, the heightened alert is reduced, and they begin to withdraw security personnel, then we are going to go back to where we were probably last week, 2 weeks ago. And so for me, they should do that. In doing that, others who are coming would be told that now Ghana, probably we are in a heightened state of alert, especially around that area, and so don't come. But even if you come, you are going to be searched. And also to let them know, because I didn't hear that from the commander, they should also make a declaration that every foreigner who is coming in, you are not allowed to carry weapons on you. If you have a weapon, those who have already crossed with weapons should report to the nearest police station in their own interest, or else when you are arrested, the law is going to deal with you. And so these are some of the things that I am expecting, apart from the vigilance and all the other things they are talking about, trying to educate the soft targets and the people in the markets and all that. I think it is very important, Evans.
One of the key things, I guess, in these times, and we need to guard against, is xenophobia. I mean, because we've had, of course, 2 Burkina-based. Another story we're bringing you on Newsnight shortly is a case of the kidnappings happening in Ashanti region. There's a lot happening there as well. All suspects that foreigners may be involved, especially along the border towns. That's one of the key things that people need to guard against as well. Be alert. But also, don't just assume that because the person is a foreign national, he may be a criminal. I'll come back to you to give me a comment on that, how citizens can balance that, but also help the public what to look out for in these dangerous times. Let's speak today. Also joining me right now is the MC for Sisala East, who has been in the briefings with the commander, the Brigadier General. Thank you very much, sir, for your time here on Top Story.
Yes, good afternoon.
I'm grateful that you could join me, sir. I know you sat in and listened to the commander. Happy with what you've heard? I know your town has been one of the key focus areas. Happy with the presence of the men on the ground? Is it making any difference?
Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Evans. I think I have received him in my municipality, and I think it's actually made a lot of difference. Hello?
As the chairman of the Municipal Security Council, what can you tell us about? We understand that there have been an additional arrest made, and I know the security agencies, you meet quite regularly. What updates do you have? What brief do you have on the situation on the ground as far as trying to locate potential threats is concerned?
As far as from where I'm standing, I think the municipality is peaceful. For all intents and purposes, the security personnel are on top of their jobs, I can't foresee any security threat as far as the current happenings are concerned in the municipality.
Do you know of have you been briefed on the latest arrest of this Burkinabe who was also found with a gun on him?
Oh, in Hamile?
Yes, in Hamile, yes.
Yes, probably, yes. I've been briefed.
And where is he now? I mean, I'm told he's still being kept, but he'll be flown to Accra for trial?
Yes, I've been told. Hello?
Okay, and in your area, we understand that some time back, this was last week or week before, some 300 or so Burkinabes who had strayed into Ghana were found, and there were attempts to try and process and understand how they got in and whether they were a threat to our national security. What's the latest on that?
Oh, yes. The numbers are not 300. The numbers actually, after profiling, has actually moved to 1,633. As of now, profiling is still ongoing because these personalities are not found in one community. They are found dotted along communities on the Burkina Faso-Ghana border. But as we speak, the profiling is still ongoing. And I think whatever it is, we will be getting the updates.
Are you satisfied that these, and the number has grown quite exponentially, these 1,633 are no threat to us?
Oh, no, sadly, for them being threat, as that is why the security is also available and they're monitoring what is happening. But to answer your question whether I am happy, I cannot say yes or no, because from the look of things, the people do not actually come to Ghana based on their own evolution. Probably something is pushing them to come to Ghana. So for now, whatever it is, the answer is not yes or no. The only thing is we also have to see how to manage with them, because they've come in to increase in terms of our social amenity. They've come to increase the pressure on them. They've also come to increase a lot of things and a lot of hardship on our people, because the hospitals and then all that, they also have to take part in it. So I cannot say I'm happy, but it's a situation that I have nothing to do, but rather to manage it.
Are they being kept in a confined area, or they've allowed to mingle in the community?
Oh, sadly, they are allowed to they allow a minimum interaction with the community, because they also have their own settlement. But when I talk about minimum interaction with the community, it has to do with sharing some facility with the community, like boreholes, because there's no way they also drink from the same borehole that the community drink. But natural sense, they also have their own, the area that they settled.
Do you know have we established yet how they managed to get into Ghana? Did they come through approved borders? Were they checked by immigration? Because it appears we only found out when they were already in Ghana.
Oh, indeed, they did not. They did own submission. They did not actually pass through the approved migration. As I was saying, because if you look at the map of Ghana and where Sisala East is located, we have a number of communities along border road, and you realize that there are a lot of unapproved roads. So majority of them actually came through those unapproved roads.
But if they came through unapproved routes, that is an offense against our laws. I mean, are they being treated as are they being treated based on the laws that says you cannot come in and therefore maybe arrested? Or how are we handling them, knowing that they came to unapproved routes?
I don't know the chapter of the law you are talking about. I am not a lawyer.
But if the person comes into your country through unapproved routes, the person is an illegal immigrant. I'm just asking
depending on the situation and condition of the person, whether for you to say it is illegal or it's not illegal. If somebody is running for his life and then found himself in your country, I do describe it as illegal.
Okay, so is that what it is? These people are seeking refuge in Ghana?
Certainly, that is what they are telling us.
When will the profiling be finished, do you know?
I will not be, as I indicated earlier on, it is not found in one particular place. We try as many as possible to discover all areas these people are found. And anytime we try to identify a place and then we see some, we'll have to go ahead and then do the profiling. So as to when specifically the profiling will be done, I will not be in the position to say it, because I'm not directly involved in the job, because it's immigration that are doing the profiling.
I'm grateful that you join us. That is the MC for Sisala East, who has been speaking to us about the combined efforts to try and deal with the terrorist threat in that part of the country. There's a counter-terrorism operation still underway there tonight, confirmed by the Northern Commander of the Ghana Armed Forces. I still have with me on the telephone line security analyst Adams Bona. Mr. Bona, your comment on what we just heard about now the number. Then it was around 300. Now we are talking about 1,633. Burkinabes. Now it's confirmed that they claim they're seeking refuge in Ghana, but they came through unapproved routes. We know the threat in Burkina Faso. What's your comment on this? Should we be worried, and are we dealing with this the way we should?
Evans, I can only say it's very frightening. It's frightening. It looks like we might have a humanitarian crisis at hand. If we don't quickly deal with this situation before it gets out of hand. You are talking about a whole community. Some communities along these borders are sometimes 200-300, 100. And so if you know the territory where he is, these are not communities where you have large number of people. And so if you have within the space of less than a month, less than 4 weeks, close to 2,000 people crossing into this territory, and we might have, how many of them are going to be coming in probably in the next a few weeks? We might have a humanitarian crisis at hand, and I'm hoping that
apart from the humanitarian crisis, what about the security threat it poses as well? I mean, the country.
Yes, Evans, it poses a lot of threat because it is out of those who are crossing, fleeing from this what is going on in Burkina that we have people who have come in with weapons, and so we are going to be, instead of now dealing with what do you call it, those who might be trying to harm us, we are likely to be faced with people who probably would need to be taken care of in terms of social services, feeding them, accommodating them, and all that. And so for now, I would say let's begin to look at this. Let's have maybe a dual approach. Let's have the anti-terror team dealing with it, and I don't know if it falls within the domain of NADMO to go in there, or whose work it is to make sure, because then what then you are going to see is that some of these people, once you don't take care of them, you are going to have criminals. So those who might want to harm us, mingling with them and probably using them to foment troubles to harm us. This is how it works. And so for me, I would say that it is unfortunate that we have this large number of people have crossed, and just like you said, these are settler communities around the borders, and they came in, and they come in before we begin to screen them. We don't even have the resources to screen them.
I'm grateful that you joined us with those thoughts. That's Adam Bona. He's a security analyst, is the chief executive of the Security Warehouse Limited. The top story always brought to you by Bond Savings and Loans. Your success are passion. Also brought to you by Gas and Cement, the Nation Builder, Vodafone. The future is exciting, ready, and Nationwide Health Insurance.
It's time to experience something